over every other airline. Or more.
Well, in January, that's why.
Yeah, no, but I mean, it's just astonishingly inexpensive.
Okay, Ruvain, glad to see you on board.
He's here. Tell him I'm relieved.
He's relieved. Tell him, you want me to give him another answer? I'll tell him that one too.
My wife had an early doctor's appointment in the Goit this year, so I had to be here.
Okay.
Just ask him what, all right, what time are you coming?
12:30.
Okay.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, let's get started. I have a long day today. Okay.
Right.
All right, a year of learning, our learning sponsors. Okay, Sue and Arnie Garlick. By the way, Marvin is back, right?
Yes.
Right? Okay, I understand he had an episode while he was away, health issue. So I got to call. I got to try to call. Sue and Arnie Garlick in memory of Malka Pro Man and Philip Man and Yisrael David ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Beryl ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Yosef Meir ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Kenya Rivka Pro Rosner bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, and in memory of family murdered in the Holocaust, which reminds me today, 2:00 is the Holocaust program we do jointly with Beth Shalom. They're hosting this year. Harav Tzvi Hirsch ben Shlomo Yaakov, Sarah bat Ephraim, Yisrael David ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Ephraim ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Adia bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Miriam bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Pesel bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shalom ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shlomo Yaakov ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shmuel ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch. Leslie and Gail Kaplan in memory of their parents, Harry and Marjorie Sedell Irving and Pearl Kaplan. Children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren of Toby Paris, Sarah Tova bat Yisrael Dov in her memory. Sid will be here tomorrow for the daf. Charlie Gelfenstein and Sam Levine in memory of Ramona Levine, Rachel Mata bat Asher. Friends of Nina Moynester, Nechama Asner bat Yitzchak Aharon. Many friends of Stephen Vigdal, Ezecher Nishmat Simcha Melech ben Meir Leib Halevi. Friends of Marcy Kurtz in memory of her great niece, Leah Bracha. A month of learning by Lydia and Abe Krause's many friends in honor of their 50th anniversary. David and Mindel Cheslow in memory of his father, Moshe ben Ruvain Mordechai. Susan and Ruvain Podolsky in memory of her father, Simcha Bunam ben Yeshua. A week of learning by David and Sharon Carpel, Rabbi Tzvi and Robin Carpel, in memory of David and Tzvi's mother, Malka bat Mordechai. Dr. Mark Scher in memory of his father, Mordechai ben Menachem Manish. Ruth Kostman in memory of her husband, Shmuel ben Yitzchak. Carol and David Kaplan in memory of Hannah and Ron Goldberg's daughter, Tamar Yenta bat Yerachmiel Yitzchak. Judy Iger in memory of her husband, Aaron ben Shlomo Michael. Hanya and Shmuel Novik in memory of her father, Zeb ben Shimshon. Meir and Sarah Breben, Michael and Golda Breben, in memory of Meir and Michael's mother, Bela bat Elimelech. Isaac and Eda Novik in memory of his father, Eliezer Yaakov ben Mordechai Tzvi. Also have today being the 28th, a day of learning by Judy and Bob Failer, in memory of her father, Mesha Bendit ben Avram Yitzchak. May the Shemas have an Aliyah, Crank Raphael, Velti Yeshiva Shem Matzliah, and the Chol B'nai Israel, a good Gaben Shtia. Okay. Unfortunately, not to Ben Sarah. Okay. A new bulletin, by the way, will come out today, and I will ask you guys to make sure that it is read in the morning. Okay, Michael? All right. Thank you. So you have Ruvain read it.
No, I'll get if I.
We're the only ones, by the way, who
that
still
actually do it.
who do it.
I will do it.
And
And
Sid was the one who brought that concept to the show,
no, it
by the
makes
way.
money.
It makes a considerable amount of money.
Cool.
Okay, what? The learning sponsors.
Oh,
Right?
just started. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to just start off with a story. Yesterday, when we finished Mincha Marav, I'm walking out with our colleague and friend, Rabbi Moshe Kranzler, and he says, in 5 minutes, can you explain to me the entire daf we did yesterday?
He asked me the same question and I said,
Okay.
no.
All right, so I quickly reviewed with him the diagram that we had. And he said that was beneficial. So I'm going to put that, show that again. All right, real quickly.
Tell me, listen to Sugarman, start coming back here.
Well, I can't say that.
You want me to move this through?
I'm sure he's not the only one. And Rabbi Sugarman does give a nice
He gives a
job.
good doc, yep.
It gives him, it just talks faster than my ears can hear.
That's just got the labor, same way, boards and fast.
If you do them on your phone, you can slow them down.
Son-in-law is very
I don't know how to do it. I don't even know how to do it on my phone. let alone
Okay,
slow 'em
So
down.
so basically, as we review and get back into the Gemara, our essential question was, okay, does Ma'amar and Get have the same koach since they're derabanan as Yibum and Chalitza? Okay, and then applying it back again to the situations in practice of one Yibum to one Yibama, or one Yibum to two Yibamot, or vice versa, two Yibamim to one Yibama, two Yibamim to two Yibamot. Okay. So given that scenario, do we need another Gemara, or do we have? Well, okay,
I'm online this morning.
good morning. Okay,
Good morning.
all right, so what happens? Gabriel. All right, so if I just quickly roll back on the bottom of Nun Aleph Amud Beis, right? All right, what happens? V'ha b'yavtila, k'dema'amar shavyuhu Rabbanan v'katani ein acharei klum, and that's where we finished. So we start with Ketzad Asam Ma'amar and gave her a get. Okay, that's part the Gemara didn't conclude, but that's part we have to keep in mind. Okay, and so we come to Nun Bet, right, which is today's daf. Okay, and it starts off, hi get, achar getu. But isn't this precisely the example of after get? Which we saw everybody was in agreement that there was a problem with that because Rabban Gamliel held one way and Chachamim had the other way. Okay. So what happened? So Ma Rav Yehuda, this is Rav Yehuda, top line on Nun Bet Amud Aleph, right? Hachi Ka'amar. Harvey, okay? All right? So this is what he meant to say. All right? Get achar haget, uma'amar achar ha'ma'amar. Okay, if you have one case of get and then another with a get, or no one case with ma'amar, okay, and another then a ma'amar. And I'm assuming that at this point we're simply talking about one yabam and two yabamot. That could be the situation. Okay, Kida Amran, as we said, right? Yabam echad v'yabama achat. Okay, how could it, if that's one and one, right? Ketzad hitarten. How is it possible then to have permitted it? Asam ma'amar b'yabam to. Okay, so the Gemara says, fine, you wanted to say it was one and two women. I could pick that up on that. But if it's one man and one woman, how can it, right? How can that be even theoretically possible, right? Asam ma'amar b'yabamto. He first made a ma'amar with his zakuka, his yabama, v'natan la get, and then he gives her a get which breaks the ma'amar, okay? Tzricha himenu chalitza. He will still need to do chalitza with her. Why? Because he has to break the Zika relationship. Okay? Going on. Asam ma'amar uba'al. Okay, another point. Right? He made the ma'amar and then relations. Harei zo k'mitzvata. That's what our Mishnah said, that is clearly the, I'll put it with preferred, okay, method. of fulfilling the
It's
mitzvah.
actually, it's brought as halacha,
Mhm.
that you do mine. Yeah, no, it's brought in halacha that if you're going to do yibum, you must first midrabanan, but you must first do mimer, so it becomes parallel to a marriage. That mimer is kedushin and bia is nisuya.
Lema Messiah Leila Rav Huna. Let's say that this approach then, okay, follows the example and supports the view of Rav Huna. The Amar Rav Huna, as Rav Huna was saying, mitzvat yibama, the mitzvah of fulfilling that act of yibum, okay, mikadesh v'achar kach bo'el, okay, just as referred to, the same way in a normal marital program, so to speak, you have kedushin and then nesuin. So in this case, so you'd have ma'amar parallel to one.
Why doesn't he just do regular kedushin?
Oh, good question. Baruch shekivanta. Let's see if the Gemara deals with that.
It
Okay.
becomes a different text
Okay.
of the suit.
Okay. What happens though is, remember, okay, what's the difference in this situation, Bob? What is he supposed to be doing? He's supposed to be fulfilling the mitzvah of Yibum. And ordinarily, that is an exception, because ordinarily, could he marry that woman? No. Okay, so that's why he may not be able to do. Go ahead, Mike.
Also, the text of a mimer is I'll feed and clothe and house you. But if I pass away or dump you, I will not have to pay you the ksuba out. You'll collect that from the estate that I'm now
yeah.
holding.
We'll get
of
to
your
that.
old
We'll get
husband.
to
So
that
it's not a
later.
real-
We'll get
it's
to
not
that
the
later
same
in the
word.
Gemara. Okay? All right. But I wanted to emphasize, Michael's correct, the text, but I wanted to emphasize, remember, Yibum is an exception, okay, to a Torah mandated situation.
I'm going to raise that as a
Right. Okay. What happens though? Notice, okay, your question was a valid one, because the Gemara that goes on to say, Ema, I might say, af zeh k'mitzvata. This also might be an acceptable approach. Gemara is actually going to have to reject that, okay, to say it's an to simply say, why don't you just go ahead and be Makadesh, okay? Pshita, that's obvious, says the Gemara. Salkadatka Amina, it's possible I might have thought, Kevan da Amar Mar, since the master said at one point, Ha'osem ma'amar b'yibamto, one who makes a ma'amar arrangement b'yibamto, parcha himenu zikat yibamim. At that point, it ends or splits from him the zika relationship. In other words, by making the ma'amar, he has committed himself to her. And as we talked about, I think yesterday, Michael pointed out to us, that was before the Beis Din. Okay? And so therefore there is a clear, even if it's d'Rabbanan, a clear textual, legal precedent here. Okay? All right, and so we might say, if he's made that commitment in writing and before Beis Din, maybe that's enough to break the Zika bond, okay? Even if he hasn't committed Bia yet with her, okay? So that's the point. V'chala alav zikat erusin v'nisuin. And therefore it is replaced by, I'll put the phrase in quotes, normal,
marital.
all right, normal marital bond of engagement and marriage. Ema, lav mitzvah ka'avin. Can I say then, I should say then, that is what he is doing, the mitzvah? Kamash malan comes to teach us, right? Is he still doing the mitzvah? Not exactly.
If he's not doing the mitzvah, he shouldn't be allowed to marry her.
That's a question. All right? All right? But remember the Gemara, the Torah says it was his choice, right? He can choose not to marry her, Chaim, right? What does he do? Chalitza.
Well, then you would say after Mamar you must do chalitza, but that's not the.
After Mamar, you have to do both get and chalitza, right?
If you're not going to go through it,
If you're not going to go through with it.
then you just do beer.
Right. Okay. Gufa. Let's come back, says the Gemara, to our text. Amar Rav Huna. Says Rav Huna as follows: Mitzvat Yabamim Mekadesh v'achar kach bo'el. According to Rav Huna, to fulfill the mitzvah, he must do some sort of engagement. Okay. So that's what the Ma'amar comes to Rabbanan, as opposed to a Doraita method of Kiddushin. Right, and here we'll use that because that was the lashon of the Gemara. V'achar kach bo'el, and then afterwards have relations. V'im ba'al v'asam ma'amar, but if he went ahead and had relations first, as if to think, well, this way I'm fulfilling my mitzvah of yibum, okay, and then made the ma'amar,
So that she could stay.
right? Okay, kana, he has gained a wife, right?
Even without the Mamar, he gained.
Oh,
No,
wait.
No, because you can't have beer without a ksuba.
Okay.
This replaces
All right.
the ksuba.
So what happens? Im ba'al va'asam ma'amar. The Gemara is not happy with that idea. Im ba'al va'asam ma'amar. If he had relations with her and then did the ma'amar, pshita is that seems to be obvious. Daha kanya bebeya. Why? Because here don't we say that he acquired her through bia? Ella ema. Notice what happens when the Gemara says Ella. It's going to challenge. It's going to say, rather, I might say as follows: Im ba'al below ma'amar. If he had bia with her without the ma'amar, kana. Okay, then he acquired her. All right. In that case, just the act of bia would have been sufficient, both to fulfill the zika bond and to fulfill a marital bond. Okay. Vahatanya, but the Gemara says, hold on. But wait a second now, we taught elsewhere, right? Lokeh, right? Mikat mardut midrabanan. Okay? We say in this particular situation, okay, where one is taking, weeding or hoeing the land of a ger, okay? Whose land does he have in mind? All right? In this case. So the text tells us, Lokeh makat mardut midrabanan, that person who performs that act can be flogged for makas mardus, for rebelling against rabbinic decrees.
So you have to do
Right?
beer first.
What? Why? The Rav, okay, man gid man de mekadesh babia. And how do we know that that case happens? That one could be flogged in a situation, in other words, get malchus in a situation of being over on a rabbinical item? Here's the example, right? The Rav man gid man de mekadesh babia, because Rav would flog somebody who was, in quotes, only being mekadesh through bia,
This is a normal way.
right? In a
Not
regular,
talking about
in a
They're talking about it.
okay, in a normal situation, right? Uman de mekadesh bashuka. He would also flog somebody who would do kiddushin in the marketplace, in a public scenario. Uman de mekadesh below shaduchi. He also would flog someone who went ahead and without making the necessary, make up the necessary marital document tanayim and arrangements. Okay. Uman de mevatel gita. He would also flog somebody who would in advance nullify a get, okay, so that he could say to the lavlar, to the sofer, write me this get, okay, for such and such a date, so that when I marry her, I can give her the
No, we're
get.
not up to that.
I'm not up to that yet?
No,
Okay.
this is where he writes the get and then he says, he sends it, and before she gets it.
Before
he
she receives it,
cancels
he
it.
cancels her. Uman de masar moda'a agita. That's what I thought that was. The one who gave an acknowledgement, an announcement about the get. That was the one that said that he
That's where
announces it.
said, I'm not, no, now he's saying,
To get it in
I really
advance.
didn't mean to do it. I was forced into
Okay.
it.
All right. So what happened? Uman de pakir shlicha de rabbanan, or one who behaves irreverently towards the representative of the rabbis of the Beis Din. Uman de shahi shamta de rabbanan ale, or one who also could flog somebody who, upon that person, the rabbinic court had put some sort of a shamta, some sort of cherem or something like that. All right.
And he
And
doesn't-
after Tlatin Yomin, and after 30 days, velo ati lebeidina v'tabah l'shamte. And he didn't come back to the court to try to seek redress to remove that excommunication. Okay, and not only that, va'al hatana de da'ir b'bei chamue de da'ir. And also on somebody who was living, okay, a son-in-law who was living in the house of his father-in-law. The da'ir, and okay, if he's living there, yes. The khalif, if he simply passes by or visits, all right, lo, then that one person would not be. And why might that be the case? You're concerned that there might be some hokey pokey going on between the mother-in-law and the new oldest son-in-law. Okay?
You're not worried about the collar herself?
No. Right. So the Gemara continues there. Vaha hahu de chalif ababa de bei chamue. And there was this situation where there was a son-in-law who used to frequently pass by the gate of his father-in-law and mother-in-law. Vignagde Rav Sheshet, and Rav Sheshet had him flogged.
I think this is after Nisuyin, before, this is when they're engaged, we've been using, and before marriage.
I wasn't so sure
But
about
it
that.
may not.
Okay, hahu miyadam havadiyam michamate. And then why was that the case that he had him flogged? Because they suspected him of having some hoity-toity with his mother.
Unbelievable.
Okay,
What? Are you kidding?
think of it.
You don't forget these girls got married when they were 11 years old,
Well,
12 years old. This girl is only 30.
Could be a beautiful woman.
What is
Well,
there's a term for that. I don't know what it is.
Philandering.
No. There's a term for a woman who's very attractive.
I hope it was
old.
Zaftig.
Cougar. Not a cougar?
Cougar, right.
That's what I said, a cougar. Okay? All right,
No, we're not talking about a 50-year-old.
okay?
She could be
I'm
25.
not talking about age.
But after they're married, it is okay.
No, that's worse. All right.
I mean, people move in with their in-laws.
Hum-
In those days, everybody.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a one-room domicile.
We're not talking about they built an extension to the house, Chaim.
We're talking about
Okay.
a one-room house.
All right.
The father-in-law is out plowing the field.
And the son-in-law's plowing something else, yeah.
It's fine. You didn't have to add. That was impressive.
Okay, Nahardai Amrei, the Nahardians say, Bekuhu lo mangid Rav ela lemikadesh babia ubelo shaduche. According to the Nahardians, they said in all of these, Rav did not flog the person, except in the case where there was where the kedushin was done by means only of bia, and there was no marital documents, arrangements made in advance. The Ikata Amre, and there are those who say as follows: Afilu b'shaduche nami mishum kritzuta. That even if there were marital documents or tnayim arranged in advance, okay, because there was extracurricular activity going on there. Okay, that was the issue. Okay, right.
Wait,
Now-
wait, it says that they had to have witnesses to the intercourse? I don't understand that.
Well, that would be that's one other interpretation. Okay, that was another case. All right,
Okay.
Tanu Rabbanan, New Brighton, Ketzad Ma'amar. Okay, what about this example of Ma'amar? Right, we come back to what we had at the top of the Gemara. Right, Natan la Kesef Oshava Kesef. Let's assume that he gave her a financial gift
A ring.
or something that was worth equal to finances. Ubishtar, and also with a document. Okay. Now this is the first case we see clearly, I
What
think,
mimer actually
that
is.
Mamar number one requires a document. Okay.
No, it requires.
Okay. I'm not
the
sure.
mimer-
I'm not sure,
He
man.
is correct to the extent that if there were no mimer, he would only allow to have Bia once.
Right.
And then every act of Bia thereafter.
Beyond
would get
that,
malchus
because
she's not holding a document.
right.
This mimer is in lieu of a kasuba, and he can't give
In
her
that-
a kasuba
In that
because
situation.
the Chachamim took away certain kasuba obligations from him.
Okay, let's see.
So it's one and done.
Okay, so what happened? So here is again we see the implication that Mamar was not just a verbal act, okay, but there needed to be a document.
No, a verbal contract isn't worth the paper it's written.
Right. Okay. So what happens? Not right. So ubishtar ketzad. How was that done? Bishtar ketzad. With a document. How was it done? Kida amran, as we've said, katava al niyar or al cheres. He could write this document either on paper, parchment, okay, or on a piece of pottery, right? Afal pisha ein bo shava pruta. Even though that pottery, since it's broken pottery, or that piece of paper is not equivalent to a
So
shava
that
pruta.
can't take the place
Right.
of the ring.
It can't take the place of any kesef or shava kesef. Right. Hare at mekudeshet li. And what does he write? You are betrothed unto me. Okay. Amar Abaye. Hachi ka'amar. This is what he means to say. Shtar ketubat yibamim. We're going to call this now the document of a ketubah vis-a-vis the act of yibum. Okay. Ketzad, what do? Katavla, he writes as follows. Ana Ploni bar Ploni. I'm Meshi, son of Pipik. Kablit yat Plonit yavamti. Okay, and I take in, so to speak, so-and-so, the woman, my zikuka, my yibama, all right? Alai, upon me, lazun lefarnasa, okay, to provide her with sustenance, right? Kira'ui, as is appropriate.
Lifestyle she became accustomed to.
Okay.
my brother.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't go that far. Ubilvad shetehe ketubata al nichse ba'ala harishon. But on the condition, so that it is based on the ketubah, okay, from her, of the property of her first husband. In other words, my dead brothers, okay, right. Ve'it let le mirishon, and if it's this is a
It's a mimer.
mamar, we call it a mamar ksuba.
What he calls it.
That the Gemara calls it that. Okay, all right. And if she doesn't have it from the first husband,
If her first husband was a pauper.
right? Takinu la Rabbanan Misheni. Then the rabbis established that
He does.
that he has to give her whatever. Kadei shelo tehe kala be'einav lahotzia. So it wouldn't be easy for him to
Number.
kick her out. Abai mine abai mi Rabba. And Abai asks Rabba the following. Natan la get. Let's assume he gives her a get. Okay. Va'amar hare at migureshet himeni. And sister, you are divorced from me. V'i at muteret l'chol adam. And you are permitted to any other man. Mahu. What's
No,
the
you're
stance?
not allowed. I'm
V'i
divorcing
at
you.
muteret l'chol adam.
You're not the big.
You're not permitted.
Right, I'm gonna divorce you and I'm not gonna let you ever
Shema.
get married again.
Okay.
That's what he writes.
What's the situation? Get yibamad rabbananhu. This is a get that's rabbinically, a yibum get that is rabbinically, so to speak,
This is
conceived.
the question.
Okay, right? Get the mahani be'eshet ish, mahani biyabama. But a get that is valid for a normal wife,
Invalid.
okay? The mahani be'eshet ish, okay? Get the mahani, a get that is valid for an eshet ish, mahani biyabama, is valid for yabama.
The get.
Get the lo mahani be'eshet ish, and a get that is not valid for a eshet ish, for a normal marriage situation, lo mahani biyabama. It is not valid for yabama. So that statement of
Conditional
his
get.
conditional is not valid. That's the
Maybe.
point. O Dilma, or perhaps ate le'echlufe begita, or perhaps it can be changed regarding the get. Right? Amar lechashinen Dilma ate le'echlufe begita. We're concerned lest they get them, people mix them up. Mat kifla Rabba Bar Chanan, and Rabba Bar Chanan challenges. Ela me'ata, but from now, here, what's the point? Yahiv la naira ba'am. So let him give her a piece of
Blank piece
paper
of paper.
in general. Hachanami de pasla. Here too, are we going to say that that is invalid? Amarle, he says to him, hatam lo pasil b'kahuna. In that case, she would not be invalidated for kuna. Hacha pasil b'kahuna. But in this case, she would be pasul, invalid to kuna. The Tanya as taught, v'isha grusha me'isha lo yikhu. Okay, that's the pasuk cited that a woman divorced from a man cannot be taken. Afilu lo nidgarsha ela me'isha lo yikhu. Okay, even if she was not divorced from her husband. Okay, with implying even if she didn't marry a second man. Okay, we know that clearly if she marries husband two, okay, that's the problem. But in this case, even if she didn't marry, he's divorced.
This is
It's a
a
problem.
problem. Since a married, that there's a pattern, there's an archetype. Since a woman who's divorced cannot marry a Kohen,
Right.
we know there's a case where a restriction can apply. So maybe if the husband writes in a restriction, it would still be valid. That's what's going on.
Okay, I didn't see that in the Perushim that I had, but okay. All right, lo yichul, can't take her. Vahainu reach haget sheposel b'kuhuna. As a result, we have here a smell, so to speak, an aspect of the get that renders her invalid for the kahuna. Amar Rami Barcham, what does he say? Hare Amru. People would say, Amar Echad Levlavla. Okay, Katov Get La Arusati. So maybe somebody might come and go to the sofer and tell him, write a get for my fiance. And the Ekansa Agersha. Okay, and in that case, when I
As soon as I take her in,
take her in, I'm divorcing her. Hare Ze.
and gone.
All right, Hare Ze Get. Okay, Mipnei Shebiyado Legarsha. That then would be a valid get because he has then the authority, I'm going to use
She's
that word,
already an eruv.
okay? An authority to divorce her, okay? V'leisha ba'alma, okay? But in general, for a woman in general, right? Ein get mipnei she'ein biyado legarsha. But otherwise, for a woman in general, that get he does not have the authority to divorce her. By Rami Bar Chama, right? She's not his wife yet. Okay. So Rami Bar Chama asks the following: V'yavam to mahu. So if it's that's you're saying in the situation of a regular case, what about for the Yavama?
Because there is a zika.
Right? Kevan the Agida Bey, since she is bound to
There
him.
is a zika.
Okay, we still have the Zika relationship. Okay, what happens? Ke arusato damya. Do we say she is like his fiance? O Dilma, or perhaps here, right? Kevan de lo avad b'ma'ama, since she did not make with her let's call it a
Formal.
rabbinical engagement.
Formal.
Okay, lo, maybe no. Teku, we have no clear answer here. Let's go on. By Rabbi Hanani. So Rab Hanania says as follows: Katav get lezikato, velo lema'amaro, that he wrote a get for regarding the zika, but he did not have anything for the ma'amar.
It did not.
It could be regarding two yibamot, okay? That could be one man and two yibamot.
It's really one man and one.
But if we say it's one man and one woman, he could have written a get instead of done chalitza. Remember, we said there's an argument whether get has the same koach as chalitza. Okay, so he could have written a get, thinking that that would be sufficient to break the Zika relationship, but not necessarily to break the ma'amar, the engagement.
He did mind her.
Right.
And then the text of the get is, I'm writing this get to dissolve the Zika. And he does not write
Imply
a normative get. I'm writing this get
to break the
dissolve.
ma'amar. Right, that's the point.
So can you split the Zika from the bond from the mimer bond? Or
That would be one way,
one
or I would phrase it a little differently. Does the writing of the get have the same koach, again, as chalitza, and able to break the Zika bond and the mamar bond? Or was his intent to just one and not the other? Lema'amaro, or just the opposite. Maybe he wrote the get lema'amaro to break the erusin, all right, the rabbinic engagement, velo the zikaton, but not to break the Zika bond. Mahu, what's the situation? Sorry, ma'amar ilave, okay? Do we say then that the ma'amar is superimposed, okay, on the Zika? Karame, is that the situation? Vahavale kimagaresh chatzi isha. And in that case, we might say it's as if he was divorcing only half the woman. Okay? Vahamigaresh chatzi isha lo asa velo klum. Okay, and divorcing half the woman because he has, remember, both I'll call it for the moment, a tentative marital bond as well as a Zika bond. Okay?
Can the get specify whether it's to break a Zika bond or to break a ma'amar or whatever?
That's the question the Gemara is asking, Steve.
Okay.
All right? So what happens here, okay, is the implication seems to be, okay, that doesn't work. Dilma, perhaps, hai lechude kai, v'hai lechude kai. Okay, each is an independent relationship. And as a result, okay, if he were to want to break both, he would need both a get and chalitza. Okay, which comes back to show us again this idea that there was a difference of opinion as to whether get was strong enough to end a Zika bond in and of itself. Okay, and not as strong as chalitza. Okay, tifshot le midaraba. Okay, says the Gemara. Perhaps an answer can come to him from Rabba. Da amar Rabba, Natan get the ma'amaro. Okay, if he gives a get to conclude the ma'amar relationship, okay, to terminate that, terminate it. I'm sorry. Hutra sarata, says Rabba, that then her co-wife is permitted. So according to Rabba, it would appear, right, that
Meaning he could change his mind on Sally and marry Rivkin instead.
right, okay, but it would also seem to appear that Rava held that a get was equally as strong as chalitza.
It's all one bar.
Okay, that's the point.
No, because he hasn't done anything.
He didn't do anything.
Yeah, but he undid
Yes, but
it, so
but by giving the get, not only, but according to Rava, then by giving the get, not only does he break the ma'amar bond, but he breaks the Zika bond
with her, but not
with that one. But if there's another one, she's
the minor is
available.
only midrabana. So it's as if he did nothing, and there are two wives. He gets to flip a coin.
Okay, so, all right, so that's why I said it would appear then that Rava in that case would hold that a get is as strong as chalitza to break the Zika bond. Okay, so we've seen now clearly, just a quick review, that there are different views whether, okay, the Rabbanan stuff is equally as strong as the Doraita. Okay, let's go on. All right, the Rabba pshitalai. For Rabba, it's simple to him, right? The Rav Chananya mibayele, but Rav Chananya had a problem with it. Mai, what was it? Teku. Okay, it was undecided. Okay, new piece from our Mishnah. Chalatz va'asa ma'amar. He did chalitza and then did ma'amar. Question is, are we talking one guy to one woman? Okay, we talking one guy to two women? Things like that. Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav, says in the name of Rav. Zo divrei Rabbi Akiva. That must be the view of Rabbi Akiva. Da Amar, who says, Ein kiddushin tofsin b'chai ve'lavin. Okay, that Rabbi Akiva held, remember that any love, not just love that was chai of kares, okay, was forbidden. Aval chachamim omrim, but the sages say, yesh achar chalitza klum, that there is something that could be done after chalitza. All right, umi matzit mokemet la keRabbi Akiva, and what made us think that we needed to establish this part of our Mishnah according to the view of Rabbi Akiva? V'hakatane reisha, but here it was taught at the beginning. Natan get v'asa ma'amar, if he gave a get and did a ma'amar, right? Tzricha get v'chalitza, that he needed both another get and chalitza. V'i Rabbi Akiva, and were it to be Rabbi Akiva's perspective, kevan diyahev la get, once he's given a valid get, mi mahani ba ma'amar, is there any validity to doing a ma'amar?
Because now she's Ashes.
Right. Vahatanya. But aren't we taught the following? Rabbi Akiva says, Omer, minayin lenotain get liyavam to, shnesra alav olamit. On what basis is it that Rabbi Akiva says that if he gives a get to his yavama, Okay, that's it. She is totally, forever forbidden to him. Shne'amah, because it says in the pasuk, Lo yuchal ba'ala harishon asher shalcha. Okay, he's not able, the first husband who has sent her away, namely achar shiluach, after having sent her away. Okay, in other words, once that husband has sent her away, she is not permitted to him whatsoever. That's how Rabbi Akiva understood. Amar Rav Ashi. Says Rav Ashi, get Yibamin with the Rabbanan. A get regarding a Yibama is a rabbinical issue. Ukra is machta ba'am. And the verse is simply a supportive text. Okay, for in general, other situations.
No, here,
Right?
Rabbi Akiva is using this.
He's simply using it as a smach.
That he still holds.
Right? Tanya nami hachi, says Rav Ashi. And we can learn this as follows. Amar Rebbe, as Rebbe said, Ein hadvarim halalu amurim ela ledivrei Rebbe Akiva. These things are only said in the name, in the direction, in the view of Rabbi Akiva. Shahaya oseh chalutza ke'erva, that he made the woman who participated, who received chalitza, like an erva, aval chachamim omri. Okay, but the sages say, yesh achar chalitza klum, that there is something that can be done after she has chalitza. Okay,
it's not irrevocable.
right. Va'ani omer, and I will say, okay, ematai, when might this be the case? Bizman shekidsha l'shum ishut, in a situation where, okay, she is has kiddushin for the purpose of marriage. Aval kidsha l'shum yibamut, but if he made kiddushin with her to fulfill the yibum zika relationship, ein achar chalitza klum, then there is nothing after that chalitza. Tanya Ida, we also learn as follows in another bright. Choletz liyavamto, one who performs chalitza with his yibama, v'chazar v'kidsha, and afterwards he comes and becomes engaged with her. Rabbi Omer says, Rabbi, im kidsha l'shum ishut, if he had kiddushin with her for the purpose of marrying her, tzricha himenu get, she requires a get.
Because she's Eishesah.
Right? Because, right, Yibum was the purpose, was the only out in allowing that kind of marriage. Okay? Otherwise, she is forbidden him to, all right. Okay? L'shum yibamut, if, however, he did it, engaged her, okay? Let's say did that instead of a ma'amar. I'll just throw that in.
No, he made it done a mimer. He gave her chalitza and changed his mind.
L'shum yibamut,
He wants
ein tzricha himena get. She does not need from him again.
which means he can do it.
Right? V'chachamim omrim, but the sages say, bein shekidsha l'shum ishut, bein shekidsha l'shum yibamut. Regardless of whether he did kiddushin with her for the sake of marriage or for the sake of yibum, tzricha himenu get. She does need from him a get.
So they hold that the marriage is toifes, but
That's
forbidden. So
Forbidden, he still has to give her a get to
Rabbi
break
Akiva would say
the
nothing.
marital bond. Right. Amar Rav Yosef. My Tama the Rebbe. What was Rebbe's reasoning? Okay. As we go on, Asahu Asauha Ke'oder benichsei hager. Okay. Here's come back to this example.
Makes an analogy.
It makes a parallel to say it's like the individual, okay, who is hoeing in the property of a convert. Ukesavur shalohein, and he's under the impression that the property is his. Delo kane, okay, without having really acquired it. Amar le Abai, mi dame, and Abai says, is there really a parallel there? Hatam, Loka mechavein lemikne. There he had no clear intent to acquire it. Right? He just thought it was his because the ger is like a newborn and has no, right?
It's his next door neighbor.
Right, could
and
be.
he kept plowing further than
Could
his
be.
own border.
Hacha, here though, kamechavein lemikne. Here, however, when we're talking our example, okay, he has done a purposeful act, all right, to, right? Ha lo damya, ela le'oded b'nichsei ger zeh. But here it's not comparable, except with regarding to hoeing in the property of this ger. Ukisavur shel ger acher hu dekane. And it may be that he was thinking of the impression that he was hoeing in the land property of a different ger, and not that one. Ela amar Abai. But rather Abai says, what? Hacha b'mai. Here, what are we talking about? B'mai yaskinan. What are we doing? B'mai with what? Askinan kagon de amar la, as when he may have said to her, hitkadshili b'ma'amar yavamim. Okay, become engaged to me by means of a ma'amar for the zika of Yibum. Rabbi Savar, ma'amar ilave zika karami. And Rabbi was of the opinion that the ma'amar is superimposed on the zika bond. Okay, va'atai chalitza afka'ata lezika. And when he comes, if he comes to do chalitza, that breaks, nullifies the zika bond. Rabbanan savrei, and the rabbis are of the opinion, hai lechude kai, v'hai lechude kai, and this one is separate, and this one is separate. Me'ikara, originally, says the Gemara, ilu amarla, if he had said to her, Hidkatshili b'ma'amar yavamim. Okay, become engaged to me regarding the ma'amar with the yibum, right? Milo mahani, would it not be valid? Hashtanami mahani, here too, isn't it going to be valid? Rabba Amar, says Rabba, Ida Amarla b'ma'amar yavamim, if he had said to her regarding that the text, here clearly text, is going to be ma'amar yavamim, kuli amalo pligi, then nobody would be in a disagreement. The mahenya, that it's going to be valid. Vahach, right? Vahacha b'mayas kinan, and what are we dealing with here? Kigon de amarla hidkatshili bezikat yavami. But he said to her, marry me and become engaged with me with the zika, with the bond.
That should be a stop.
Right? Yeah, and we're going to stop right there because it goes on to discuss in more detail on the top of the next Amud what is Rebbe's view and what is others' view on zika. Okay? Right. Chaim, we all wish you a safe trip. Okay? Not just to, not just.
Yeah, I'm gonna stand up.